Hey there guitar players, welcome back to the channel. In today's lesson we're going to be looking at the Getting Started chapter of my High Intensity Guitar Technique book, volume 1. So first things first, let's just go over here. So last lesson we were talking about chapter 1, where I do the FAQ hints and tips, talk you through what are guitar techniques, speed, using your ears, playing along to real music and the importance of that, using a metronome, why high intensity, how to practice, very, very important elements. What is it that you want to work on, being specific about your practice, how long you should practice for, the duration, frequency, how many times a week you're going to practice, development, showing your progress and maintaining those things. I didn't go into detail in that last video, but that's all that's there. If you want to have a read through of that stuff, you can pick up a copy of the book off my website, Cutting Edge Guitar 123.cuttingedge.guitars. Just have a little look over there. What we're going to do today then, we're going to move into the new chapter, which is all about getting started. And what I want to just talk about in this very first lesson is the hammer-on. Okay, that is our first thing that we're going to talk about today. So if we just have a little look at the tab here, you can see in example 1, I'm showing you how to execute a hammer-on. So let's just talk about that briefly. In the example, in that tab, it just says 5/7. Now you can see by the sort of slurred marking in the tab here, whenever you see that, that means do a hammer-on. So if you're learning a guitar solo somewhere and you see that, that means do a hammer-on or a pull-off, which is a technique we'll talk about in the next video. So example number 1, we're going to play the 5th fret on our D string, and we're going to imagine that we've just picked that note, or we've just played that note in our solo or whatever. Now to get to the 7th fret, we're going to execute that with the 3rd finger on this hand whacking down hard on the string. So how you produce the sound of your hammer-on, basically this finger, your ring finger, will it needs to come to get used to this, it needs to come from a height. Later on, when you're doing hammer-ons all the way through and all of that sort of stuff, you want to economize the motion so you're not coming from a height. But to start with, that's how you do your hammer-on, okay? So you pick this note with your first finger, and then your 3rd finger just hammers down, whacks down the 7th fret on the D string. It's a very, very important lead guitar technique, this. Now when you do this, if you find that you get a note that doesn't really ring, what you're doing is something that I call a put-on. A put-on is not what we're looking for here. We're looking for a hammer-on. You've got to give the note a good whack. Bring the hammer down on the anvil. Make sure that that note rings, okay? So that's the first place that I show you in the book how to do a hammer-on. If we just scroll through, a bit of text there that explains things and all of the rest of it, but what we're going to do now is look at example number 2, where we're going to do the actual pull-off. I said about doing that in another video, but obviously we won't. We're going to do that today. So I thought we'd talk about that in a different video, but we won't. We're going to do that in today's lesson. So we're going to do now a pull-off. So we've just done our hammer-on. Okay, imagine that you've just played that and you now want to go back to the 5th fret note. You're going to do the pull-off, which is what's written in the tab that you can see on the screen. Okay, as you can see here, I actually did videos that explain all of this stuff, and I did all of those with the book, but now I'm just going through it here on YouTube just to help you out as much as possible, really. So 7th fret to the 5th fret. Now how you do your pull-off, it's very important that your finger here pulls downwards and then away from the string, effectively to flick the string. Let's just take the tab away for a second and just have a look at this. If I just move my angle, when I do the pull-off, you can hopefully see that 3rd finger, it pulls downwards and then away from the string. Okay, so if anyone's learning how to do things like like we're using hammer-ons and stuff like that there. If you are learning basic lead guitar, as I'm doing a trill there, that trill is me hammer, pull off, hammer, pull off, hammer, pull off. Okay, we'll talk about them sorts of things at a later date as well, I'm sure. But that is how you execute your pull off. So play that 7th fret on your D string, then pull the 3rd finger downwards, and then away from that string to execute the sound of the 5th fret. So let's move through then into example number 3. Now what we're doing in example number 3, we're going to change string. So this is a hammer, where we're going to do it on the 6th string. Now the reason I'm looking at doing that is working on different strings, different gauges of string is obviously good for your technique, because when you're playing on the guitar you're going to be always moving around different strings and all of that sort of stuff. But also as well, you will want to get used to the feel of those different strings, but also different stretches. Now if we're staying within something called the minor pentatonic scale, which again I've talked about that on my channel a million times, but I'll go through that again later when I do that certain stuff in the book. What you're going to do, you're going to see stretches like this, so we need to work on getting that down. So to do hammer-on from 5 to 8, you're going to use your 4th finger, so play that 5th fret, then use that 4th finger to whack the 8th fret, hammer-on. Do this with me. So play 5, whack, do the hammer-on to the 8th fret. Okay, let's move on to the next example where we're going to do a pull off at the same frets. So this time you start by playing that 8th fret, and then you're going to pull off to the 5th fret on the E string. I should stop doing the vibrato on there actually. I have students that will say stuff to me like, what's that wiggly thing that you're doing? And it's because they like it, they want to do it, but yeah, we'll talk about vibrato at a later date. So there's your pull off on the E string. Now if we go through to example number 5, what we're going to do, we're going to play that hammer-on using fingers 1 and 4, but on a higher string now, so on the B string. So you'd play the 5th fret on your B string, then hammer on to the 8th fret on the B. So there's your hammer-on on the B string, and then finally we can look at doing that as a pull-off on the B string as well. Stop doing the vibrato, don't want to confuse anyone. Okay, so there's a pull-off on the B string. Now as you've been doing that, you've probably found that you've had some problems with keeping strings quiet. We're going to talk about that. That was what we'll see in example 7 from the book, where we go through and do the muting and all of that. Muting is how we keep all of this stuff quiet. I'll talk to you about that when we get there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this video up now, because we've showed you here how to do your hammer-on, and we've showed you how to do your pull-off. But what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm just going to set up a backing track, and we're going to play along just doing those hammers and then pulls. So if you want to join me for that one, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you want to get your copy of the book, go to the website. The links are all in the description, and the rest of it you can go and grab a copy of the book. Or if you want more help, you want to actually take lessons with me, you can book in a call. I'll sort out a sort of like a consultation or a breakthrough call with you. We'll diagnose your problems and all of that stuff, and then what we'll do from there is we'll get you set up with lessons if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do that, then I'll give you some pointers and you just go away and do your own thing. Okay guys, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.